have our board candidate presentation, which will be moderated by Kendra Pignotti. So please take it away, Kendra.
I'm going to be your host and moderator for this panel session. Let me start by sharing the format. Each of the 6 candidates is going to have an opportunity to make an opening remark up to 2 minutes. What you choose to share beside your name is up to you. Everyone I want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to speak. Then we will move into the questions portion. Because we have a large candidate pool and lots of questions that I've had to pare down, everyone will have approximately 1.5 minutes to answer the questions. So I hope you're awake and ready to go. If we are going too much over that time, I will need to mute you to move on to the next candidate, just to ensure that everybody has the same amount of time to share an answer. So thank you very much. And the first we are going to be going in alphabetical order as the candidates with the candidate's last name or surname. And we're going to start with Vincent first. And then I will give a prompt for Tom D, Tom K, Sean, Tina, and Bradley in that order. So the first question for all of you will be, how this came from the community. The first 2 questions came from the NANOG membership community. So just to let you know, that's who these first 2 questions came from. The first one is, how would you encourage more experienced NANOG members to mentor or volunteer to engage and retain the next generation of NANOG members? Vincent, go ahead.
So how would I essentially help encourage the more, we'll call it tenured members of the NANOG community to get more people engaged, the younger people? I would say it's really just about reaching out, and I think formalizing the mentorship program would definitely help, because everyone kind of likes to have that, we'll call it sense or a tool or an app so that they can follow. But really, I don't think we need to have all those tools. It's just the sense of really wanting to go and make that extra effort and giving back. I mean, even myself, I've had other people that I've ran into, and they ask, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? And knowing that someone's actively reaching out to you and you're seeing them wanting to give back, I think that in itself is an indication that this is going to be someone that's going to give back in return, and have that be able to keep that mentorship relationship going. And that in return is just kind of paying it forward.
Thank you. And as I didn't let you do your opening, and we had an opening and closing, so I'm going to give you guys closing, so that's actually probably better for you. So sorry about that. So next would be Tom D. If you need me to read the question, I'm happy to do so.
No, thank you, Kendra. I appreciate it. Ways that I would consider engaging less experienced members of the NANOG community. So I think Vincent had a great answer in the mentorship program. I would also consider trying to place a lot more emphasis on our tutorials programs. When I got engaged with NANOG back in 2006, we had almost a half a day or more of tutorials before every NANOG meeting formally kicked off. And I think that there's a huge amount of benefit in hearing stories about a day in the life of a network engineer, a day in the life of a network programmer, or a day in the life of a technical business developer across our industry. And so I would encourage us to bring back our tutorials programs. Another aspect to consider is a little bit of a twist on mentorship, but what about one-on-one coaching, where we connect NANOG community members with each other in more of a professional coaching role? And it's not just about membership, it's about checking in and seeing how folks are doing in development of their professional goals and objectives. That might be outside of your employer, might be across organizations, in ways that allow people to express themselves in ways that they might not be able to in a coaching relationship within the working environment. I think those are 2 opportunities that the NANOG community has in front of them. Thanks, Kendra.
Well, thank you, Tom. Tom K.
Sure. So I have three kind of major points. One, as everyone else mentioned, the mentorship program. Second one will be creating a regional blueprint for NOGs to kind of create. And the third one would be job boards. And basically, what my goal would be is to create a structured mentorship program. And this is where you would have mentor matching, training, goal setting, and evaluation. And this would kind of strengthen the networking operations community. It would be something where there would be a website or something you go on and be able to match the mentors and do that. The second point would be a regional NANOG blueprint program. I'm of the opinion that one way to grow our communities to enable other smaller NANOGs as a feeder program to NANOG. And this program would help organizers create their local NANOGs at a smaller scale, similar to what I've done here in Chicago. And the third point would be job boards. I think, having a NANOG job board where, similar to other organizations such as ACM or IEEE, where they have very specific websites where you can kind of put in your resume and be able to help find jobs. I think that would kind of increase and help us grow in outreach.
Great. Thank you so much. Sean?
Thank you, Kendra. I'd go away from the technology and focus on being available to newcomers to our community. And that just doesn't mean just going to newcomers lunch or participating in the hackathon, which are great forums to reach out to people. But back in your own communities, in your own organization, are there people that could be attending NANOG that should be? Are there means to get them there? Can you make a point for their boss? With your own community, some of them do have strong regional NOGs like NANOG, CHINOG, which both Vincent and Tom have participated in. Other areas, it's more meetups. So go to a meetup, be available to people, talk about NANOG, mention it. We talked about veteran members of community. There are a number that have the privilege of being able to go to other NOGs in other regions and so on. And that's another case where you can do outreach on behalf of NANOG. Lastly, as a board member, if you're elected, you do get the privilege of representing NANOG at formal events, so some of our outreach meetings and so on, and just spend that extra time to talk to people in the audience. Let them know about NANOG, let them know what you get out of NANOG and what's important to you, and find out what's important to them. And hopefully you'll get people to participate, communicate, come back, and like Kendra, volunteer, like all of us volunteer for the organization.
Excellent. You guys are doing a wonderful job with your timing. I'm not even having to mute anyone. Tina, you are next. Would you like me to read again, or are you good?
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. No, I'm good. It's difficult to go fifth. Brad will have a harder time, but so many great ideas here. And I agree with all the formal ones, the mentorship program, the board's been talking about that. That's actually a work in progress. There's so many ways we can bring people together, and we try to do that through newcomers and women in tech and all these things. But as a woman attending these conferences for more years than I'd like to admit, I'm used to being the minority, that person that doesn't see people like them in the room. And because of my experience with that, now I know tons of people. It's hugs and hellos everywhere I go. But I try to look for that person that looks lost and try to find them and introduce them to who they need to meet. Try to always meet the fellows and make sure they're getting what they need out of the meeting. I think also bringing people from your environment to the meeting and making NANOG available to people in a hybrid functionality as we return to normalcy, hopefully, soon, will be critical because we've learned so much from this virtual environment and how we can bring people in from other communities that aren't participating today as much as we want. And we can kind of fill that gap of the young, new in their career, and the regions that have less support from local NOGs and whatnot. There's so much we can do, but it's just reaching out to people that you don't know in the hallways and making sure that they're having the valuable connections they need to have. Because frankly, anybody can attend and watch a video, remotely. Why do they want to come to a conference? Why do they want to participate? Why do they want to be a member and vote? They need to have that connection with the community that we have. And as the engineering community we have today ages out, we have to make sure there's backfill and that knowledge and the tutorials. It's an all-encompassing thing.
Thank you, Tina. And don't worry, each one of you will get to be first and each one of you will get to be last. So Brad, go ahead. Let me know if you need me to repeat anything.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and repeat the question just because it's at the end of it and people may have joined late.
Yep, not a problem. The question that came from someone in the community was, how would you engage more experienced NANOG members to mentor or volunteer to engage and retain the next generation of NANOG members?
All right.
Attendees.
So this is a kind of a different take on it. So everyone before me all brought up great points, is that we need a mentorship program to get new people built up in their skill sets. The question is, though, it's not necessarily about once they're at the conference, what we can do to build them. It's getting them to the actual conference. My very first NANOG, I was able to attend because somebody else in my company wasn't going on that trip, and that opened a spot in the budget for me to go. Many organizations limit their budget to X number of people attending so many conferences in so many places because they do have to manage that budget. So what can we do to lower that barrier of entry for the newcomers to get them to attend? How do we make it easier to bring in new, fresh faces and then keep them as a part of the community? The NANOG program committee puts on a great track every single meeting. After the meeting's over, you can watch the videos on YouTube. So why is a company going to send somebody to a meeting to watch a take that they can do with their desk in the office? It's changing that perspective and opening up eyes that it's not just the technical talk, it's the interaction between people within the industry. You're opening doors for your future, not just with the company you're at, but your future for your career. And I think that's something where we need to shift the focus on not just setting up training, but shifting the focus of how do we make it more accessible.
Thank you so much, Brad. And I commend you for being last on the first question. So the next question, we're going to start with Tom D. So this was also submitted by part of the membership community. Given the anticipated limits around travel for possibly the next couple of years, how would you guide NANOG to retain and expand community engagement and professional development? Tom D.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Thanks, Kendra.
No problem.
So first and foremost, I want to commend the current administration and the program committee on their efforts to date. I mean, I think we're doing a wonderful job of getting the community together in a virtual environment so that way we can continue the tradition of NANOG. I think one thing that we've seen with the pandemic is there is no one size fits all solution. And the solutions that apply are highly regional in nature. So it may be the case, and I'm thinking a couple steps out here, it may be the case that the full-blown NANOG meeting needs to remain in a virtual environment for a period of time. But it is possible that on a regional basis, we might be able to bring back the NANOG on the Road program for certain areas sooner rather than later. And maybe that's not just applied to, the US. We are the North American Network Operators Group, and so we need to think about other regions like Canada and Mexico. So how can we bring NANOG beyond sort of the traditional venues that we have as a way to adapt to the pandemic? In addition to that, we've seen a number of pop-up events that are occurring in our community. Some of them happen over Facebook. Some of them are happening in IRC. Most of them happen in a video chat-based format like Zoom. So how might the NANOG board work with the community to formalize those types of engagements and get them on some sort of schedule that's recurring and something that we as community members can rely on? And many of these programs are happening in the evening East Coast hours. So how might we work together as a group to adapt to time zones that work for everyone across North America?
Thank you so much, Tom. Tom K, would you like that to answer that, or do you need to read that again?
No, I think I got it.
Okay.
Thank you for that question. So I think the way we can kind of expand the community engagement, professional development with the given travel restrictions. I mean, I think the virtual NANOG is really great. I mean, it's opening up the doors to so many different people. Just in the newcomers meeting, we had people from all over the world, which is not something that you could do because of that travel. So maintaining that virtual environment is great. But I also think that, Tom talked a little bit about NANOG on the road. I think NANOG on the road is a great idea, but it missed one thing. It came to this town, did the conference, and then left. What I propose is that we actually work within all those communities to create their own NOGs, local NOGs. And what this would do is you would basically have people that live in the same town that don't have to travel, whether they start with small meetups, move to bigger conferences, or just sit there and watch the virtual NANOGs as they occur. But that would bring the people together there. And I think that where NANOG can come in and help is basically write a blueprint, just similar to what NANOG has done, helping a lot of IXPs kind of build within different regions. We can do the same thing with helping NOGs organized and take them through the various stages of development, from small meetups to even bigger conferences. And I think this will really engage the community as a whole, internet community, and then also help with the professional development at a small level that eventually, as the travel restrictions are done, could bring everyone together at one big NANO conference.
Thank you, Tom. Sean?
Yeah, so I was very active in the NANOG on the Road program and helped lead it from the start. And among other things, we did go to 2 cities in Canada. We went to Waterloo, we went to Toronto, and we went to other places in the United States where we couldn't hold a NANOG meeting. But I think there was a bit of a divergence from some of the needs of those communities. NANOG on the Road was this full one-day program. We tried to use our same social networks to get attendees, and not everybody could spend a full day away from their job for a meeting. And I think some of the local NOGs have had more success with a shorter program. So what I'd propose is a couple things. NANOG is working on additional programs for collaboration online, and I think that could be a natural place to help other regions organize, whether it's forming baby NOGs or having channels for communication. And so as those products are developed, one of the things that I was planning to do is to reach out to some of the established NOGs and folks that lead meetups and see, is this something that's interesting to them? Is this something that would help them organize? And it may or may not, because not everybody wants another app on their phone or another method of communication. But the online format that we've done for the past 2 meetings has been very valuable in reaching new attendees. Secondly, I think NANOG could provide shorter online meetings on an intermittent basis and do that across our service area. And lastly, work with the local meetings and provide speakers as they need. And we've done that particularly with NANOG. We've offered it to ChiNOG. I don't think it's normally synced up. But there definitely are opportunities. But I'd say scale it back and do something simple and try to reach new people and revise that to improve it as we go along.
Excellent. Tina?
Can you repeat the question just to make sure I don't go off track?
Yeah, fair enough. It's a bit long. Given the anticipated limits around travel for the next possible couple years, how would you guide NANOG to retain and expand community engagement and professional development?
So I agree with some of the ideas about, doing local participation, but I've been really pleased to see the turnout that we've had as we've increased our virtual presence, and having NANOG 79 as a no-cost event for attendees. I experienced interaction with people that were never able to attend before. And they told me the only reason they could go was because there was no travel and no costs, but their employer would let them have the hours off they needed to attend the meeting. There was such great adoption for that. I really see that as our avenue to explore, to get that mid-range attendee. I think I touched on this before, but we have this gap, newcomers to the industry and remote attendees that we've been trying to fill for years. And I feel like we finally found the silver bullet for that. And we can't lose that when we go back to in-person. And even if we can get an in-person meeting, where we can have 400 or 500 people in one place, even if it's not fully attended, we can't forget this hybrid model. We can't forget the value we've found here. And we can't lose those attendees that can't come and pay $600 a person to attend and fly and get hotel rooms. So what I really think we need to learn is how to make the in-person feel more like this for those remote people. Have sessions that are more like Zoom sessions at the in-person meeting where they can have one-on-one minutes with the board, with key players in the industry, have those mentorships, maybe facilitate small group meetups, that sort of thing, to increase the virtual experience so it continues to be part of our community going forward.
Thank you, Tina. Brad?
Sorry, unmute.
That's
Thank
quite
you.
all right.
So I've been trying to crack notes here while everyone's been talking, and I didn't want to be rude while listening, but so far everyone has brought up some really great points. It's, talking to the local NOGs and seeing if we can help out there. That would be great. Maybe they do need help and we're just unaware because we haven't talked to them. Or maybe the NOGs are doing fine and they don't need our help. But I think following up with local NOGs and creating a resource where we can track all the different NOGs that are available, how to attend, because you may not know that you have a NOG in your local area unless it's advertised somewhere. If you're not connected to other people within the industry in your locale, how do you know if a NOG's going on? So maybe we can help there by sharing out information about local NOGs. Tina brought up a really great point about this hybrid model. I think the hybrid model going forward is going to be huge, not only because people can attend because of the cost, but sometimes people just don't want to attend. Maybe they don't have the desire to be around people and they'd rather have time to work and then watch talks while they can. That gives them that opportunity to do so. So I think going forward, the hybrid model will benefit the community as a whole. But have we talked to our members? Have we reached out to the members to say, hey, we're looking at possibly doing a NANOG on the road or maybe a local NOG in your community. Do you think this would be of interest to have something like this in your city, in your towns? If so, is it something we can help you set up? Maybe we can reach out and find people who want to set up and run their own NOGs in the city, but they don't know how. So how do we help them do that?
Thank you very much, Brad. I'm on question 3. So we're going to start with Tom K, and I'm going to have to start holding you guys to the minute 30 seconds. So if I kind of raise my hand.
So Kendra, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Vincent didn't get a chance to answer the second question.
Oh my goodness, I skipped you, Vincent. I'm so sorry.
All right, Kendra.
I apologize.
All good. Can I ask you just to repeat the question?
Very fair enough.
Thank you.
So given the anticipated limits around travel for the next possibly couple years, how would you guide NANOG to retain and expand community engagement as well as professional development?
So I think one thing that I'll hit on there with the professional development, and this was mentioned earlier on with the first question, is education. Something that I mentioned in the candidate questions that was published was I wanted to make NANOG the go-to place, right? If I ever had a question, I want that to be the top thing that shows up that, NANOG, here's that answer. And I think that goes again with some of the things that some of the other candidates had mentioned was getting back to the tracks, the tutorials, the education, which also brings in the new members, right? And that in itself will keep that community engagement. I love, and I think other people have seen outside NANOG, Tom K and myself, right? We do Shy Nog. We've talked to other NOGs, such as Envy Nog, right? And had them, they asked us, how did you guys start this up, right? And to be able to encourage that, as well as, I think we also need to go maybe outside of the operators group as well. the enterprises also need a NOG. I mean, that's diversity in itself, right? Thought diversity that will help strengthen the community as a whole. And lastly, I'll say, yes, hybrid meetings. That's been something that, as the chair of the program committee, that's been keeping me up on how that will look like. Because as a lot of people have said, we've had people at the hackathon, we've had people from South Africa, right? This enabled not only participants, but also speakers. The previous speaker that was just up, he was in the Netherlands. And again, without this kind of virtual hybrid, it wouldn't be possible. So we need to keep that cognizant going forward.
Thank you. All great answers. So now, sorry, I totally didn't mean to skip you, Vincent. Tom K., what should the NANOG board do to ensure the next generation of network engineers see our community as positive, diverse, and inclusive?
Very good question. I think there's this concept or idea that NANOG is. There's a lot of people that have been here in the industry for a long time. They know all each other. It's kind of a hard club to get into unless you've been doing this for a while and you've known a lot of these people. So how do we? We have to break that by bringing in people that are brand new to this. And I think, one of the ways you bring in people to NANOG in this industry is have someone after college or something have a job within the industry. That's one of the key things, and that's why I'm a big supporter of having a job board or something like that to be able to provide people jobs within the industry.
Thank you, Tom. So we're going to go to Sean next. Do you need the question read, or are you good?
No, I'm happy with the question.
Okay.
So I think we've NANOG's put in some stronger policies and put a focus on diversity, added programs for outreach and to bring in the operator of tomorrow. But I think one glaring area is the NANOG mailing list. So while our meetings have become more friendly, I think for people that aren't used to the community, the NANOG mailing list can be daunting. And as Vince said, it's somewhere where you can really go and get any question answered. You could meet somebody that has that knowledge, as long as you don't get, say, hey, search the archives. So I think really focusing on making NANOG more friendly online, providing more avenues, making sure that we do the hybrid meeting correctly, and bring in sponsorship for those online activities are really where the board can focus a lot of energy to further the work that's already been done to make it more friendly to newcomers, to make it more diverse, and on top of the policies that do not permit activities that used to happen in NANOG. So I think there's some work done, particularly making NANOG the best resource online is the best area to focus on as far as that question.
Thank you very much, Sean. Tina?
So I was afforded the opportunity to explore our bylaws and policies in depth shortly after joining the board because of some incidents that came to light. But on the positive side of all of that, our community really embraced the discussion. I had so many impactful conversations around that time. And I really feel like especially the senior members of our community really are trying to fix the problem. And being one of the, small percentage of women at these events, and that's one number we track. We don't track other categories. We don't trans, for example. We don't track that. It's tough. We've done some things to make it feel more inclusive. We started handing out the pronoun pins. We're trying to make sure facilities are available, make sure everybody knows they're welcome, I think is the really key element. And the Women in Tech luncheon isn't just women. It's not only about women. Everybody's invited. If you want to follow up, we make this a really open conversation in there. I think also just finding people that, that look, it goes back to that. Find the people that don't look like they're surrounded and already have their center group, and find out what they need to get out of the meeting. Make it valuable for them, make them feel included. Our social should be for networking and not anything else. And we've done a lot to curb our behavior as an organization to make it feel more inclusive. And I want to keep it going that direction.
Thank you, Tina. Brad, do you need me to read the question?
If you would be so kind to read it again.
Absolutely. What should the NANOG board do to ensure the next generation of network engineers see our community as positive, diverse, and inclusive?
So D&I is a very important subject that's been going on. Diversity and inclusion has been discussed within NANOG, and I'm sure most companies have been just having this discussion as well within your own place of work. NANOG needs to realize that it has a little bit of an image issue. We have been doing great things as an organization, taking the right steps to become more open and inviting. The issue is that while we can set these we can set the rules in place, we can set the guidelines, we can get everyone following what we're looking for as an organization. That is great. It does not change the perspective of everyone else until the community as a whole starts working together to realize that this doesn't work. If we're not going to be open and inviting, I'm going to say it's going to sound bad, but it's just going to be a room full of old white guys. And unfortunately, that model just doesn't work. How many people have come to a NANOG, walked in the room, and not seen somebody that they can identify with in the room? They're the single person. They're trying to figure out how they can fit into a community that's supposed to be the next generation for the network of the internet. So if we're trying to build something for the future, we need to be in a place that supports those people, and it needs to start intrinsically. As an organization, we can set these guidelines, but it really comes down to people need to walk that talk. And if you see people not doing that, say something. We're adults. I'm sorry. At this point in your life, if you see somebody saying something or doing something that's not right, say something. If you don't feel comfortable talking to them, talk to the board. They're there to help you. They have things in place to manage situations like this. But until we start standing up as a group and calling out this stuff, it's going to keep happening.
Thank you very much. And Vincent, I didn't forget you this time. I'm so sorry. Would you like me to read the question, or do you have it?
I think I have it. Thanks, Kendra. Okay. One of the first things that you mentioned there was the next generation. And I think we need to ask them. I mean, we're trying to make changes based upon what we think they would essentially appeal to, but we're not necessarily asking, right? And I think the common theme here is we really need to make people feel more welcome, more included. Reach out to that person that, again, is just, you kind of see they may be lost, they may be, shouldering up, and ask them, well, how can I help? How can I make you feel warm and welcome here? The other thing here is that, NANOG, we know networks, right? That's our expertise. And I think we may need to reach out to other organizations that are actually more skilled, right? And that's what they do, is diversity and inclusion, and ask for pointers and guidance there. Again, I mean, I myself, that's not my specialty of expertise. I've reached out to other friends that I knew that do this on a regular basis, but I think we, as an organization, should consider that. Thanks, Kendra.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Tom D. You want me to read it again for you?
Please.
Absolutely. What should the NANOG board do to ensure the next generation of network engineers see our community as positive, diverse, and inclusive?
So in a way, I take this as two different elements of similar and related questions. So the first piece is on the positivity element to it. NANOG has had a image problem at times, and I think that it comes down to telling a story. And I'm seeing NANOG do that. We're starting to send out our member spotlight videos One of the things that I'm particularly excited about, not just because I had the privilege of doing so, but we're looking into our own community for more keynote speakers. So I'm really excited to hear from Jezebel and Avi over the next 2 days to hear about their stories and their success with the NANOG community. So I think that's on the positivity side. It comes from, inside you and your heart, and your own self-confidence as to, the self-fulfilling prophecy of being what you say that you are. And I think that's something that our community can work on together. With respect to diversity and inclusiveness, and I'm sorry about the garage door going off in the background, I want to acknowledge that this is work that as a board, we have to proactively acknowledge that this is work we need to do. We need to continuously iterate. We need to continuously adapt and know that this work is never done. There is no sort of magic moment where the board can sit back and say, excellent, NANOG is positive and NANOG is diverse and NANOG is inclusive. That is work that we're always going to have to do. And I think the way that we can get there, some of the ways that we can contribute, is to continue to have really, really high standards for ourselves. We have a great code of conduct for our meetings. And as other candidates have mentioned, maybe that needs to be visited and extended to our mailing list as well as to our virtual communities that we engage in. And I think it's also important for the board to make sure that we're being transparent in what's going on. We have to be transparent in dealing with issues in our community while respecting the privacy of our community members. And that's a very, very hard and fine line to walk. And it's something that we as a board should be working on regularly.
Thank you, Tom. Sean, we're going to start with you on the fourth question. Very much rolls into a lot of the things that you guys just said. So NANOG has a well-established reputation for being cliquish. How do you engage and encourage newcomers to continue to attend and feel like they are part of this community?
So, one of the first things I do is find why they're attending NANOG. What did you come to this meeting for? Who do you work for? Who are you interested in meeting? And so in the past, I've made connections for people that were looking to buy a service. They were looking to arrange a peering relationship, or in the case of our NCI, which are the college emergence students, I've introduced them to potential hiring managers, or at least people that could mentor them along the professional process to getting a job in network security and so on. So it's making that first step of finding out what they want, maybe making an introduction. Maybe they already have some contacts, but they're looking for a friendly face. So I always, unfortunately, with this online meeting, I got the name of the newcomer in our breakout room, but I don't have their face and I don't have their email address. And so I can't follow up with them. But at the in-person meetings, I do look for my newcomers in the hallways. I look for them at Beer and Gear, look for them at the peering coordinator forum, and just try to keep that follow-up and say, here's a face you know, what are some other faces you need to meet, and take that extra time to make that first step to get to know something about them and help them out, find other people like them.
Unmuted. Thank you very much, Sean. Tina?
Would you mind rereading it? These questions are quite similar. I want to be sure I'm staying.
Yeah, I would say they were completely written separate, but you guys all had the right tone. So NANOG has a well-established reputation for being cliquish. How would you encourage and engage newcomers to continue to attend and feel like part of this community?
Okay, so for one thing, I want to kind of clarify, as we've been talking about diversity and newcomers and whatnot, we've really focused on people that of all different, genders and all these different things. But there's also personality types. There's introverts that don't know how to approach a group of people that are chatting, that are incredibly uncomfortable with it. Even if their one mission at this entire conference was to meet with somebody from that company, they are not going to interject themselves. So I think as a culture, we all need to carve out a percentage of our time to make sure that we engage with people we don't have scheduled meetings with and aren't old time friends. And it's hard to tell when you're in the hallway and you see 4 people talking if they're just having a casual meetup over coffee or if they're in a negotiation for new terms. So people get intimidated about walking up and approaching. So I think an improved meeting tool would be great so that people can reach out. But we have to change the mentality and get people, no matter how senior you are at your company or how important you think you are, everybody needs to make time in their schedule for those one-offs. That's why they come to these meetings. That's why you're there. And yeah, I'll wrap up. I know we're short on time.
No, you're fine. Thank you, Tina. So next we will be going to Brad.
Do you mind repeating the question for me again? I apologize.
Not at all. Not at all. NANOG has a well-established reputation for being cliquish. How would you engage and encourage newcomers to continue to attend and feel like they're part of this community?
And that's a hard one. We've been, like Tina said, we've been talking about diversity and inclusion in the sense of bringing in differences of people, but once you're there, how do you actually include them into conversations? That's a hard thing to do, especially because some are social butterflies and they love to talk to everybody. Others may not be. So how do you find ways to be inclusive without scaring people away because it's too much for them? Having meeting tools, I think, would be huge. A tool that can actually set up where you can find the people you need to talk to. Or you saw somebody in the hallway or saw somebody giving a presentation and you wanted to follow up time with them, but you're too scared to go talk to them. Create an avenue for them to reach out to follow up that way. For those of us who do like talking to people, take time out of your day and meet someone new. Set a personal goal to meet 5 new people at a NANOG meeting. Maybe it's their first time, maybe it's their 20th time. But if you haven't met them or said hi, how are they going to feel welcome here if you can't take just a little bit of time to go say hi? Again, this isn't something this isn't something that I feel the board should have to change. Is that my 1 minute?
No, it's just letting you know they're fine.
Okay, got it. There's something, I don't think it's something the board should change. I think this is something that we need as a community to change. Unfortunately, I don't think the board can set mandates and do all these things, but we need to do as a community, we need to make a change. And I think the only way to do that, what the board can do is enable us to do that by providing tools or whatnot.
Thank you. Brad, Vincent, would you like the question reread or are you good?
I believe I'm good. Thanks, Kendra. So I think part of this is back to making people feel welcome and comfortable. And part of that is just taking that extra step when you meet someone new or even someone that you've seen around, they ask a question. How do I do this, or who do I know, right? And it's just not doing a blanket blind talk to this person, maybe a warm handoff where now you can engage that person with the other person in the conversation, right? That's how we have them engaged and how we include them. I think some of these things, as Brad mentioned, it's probably not something from the board to mandate, but enabling and maybe giving some of these skills. These are things that some people just have learned because of nature of their job, or they've gone to other classes, but maybe just having that out there, part of professional, we'll call it development, how to be able to engage people in conversations, how to have a conversation. I think those are the tools that would enable us to, again, make people feel more welcome. And we as the community have to make that extra step, extra effort to make everyone feel welcome.
Thank you very much. Tom D?
Yes, I think I'll start off by saying, it starts with the board. So don't be part of the clique. Step out of your own relationships and encourage the board members to get out there and meet the newcomers, to meet people in our community, maybe not even newcomers, maybe people who are coming back to meetings. So I think part of it starts with, I mentioned on the last topic, holding yourself to a certain level of standard or to a standard, and for board members to hold themselves to not be part of that clique and invite the newcomers into the community. But actual things that I think we can do. So I remember when I first attended NANOG back in 2006. I went to my first meeting in St. Louis, and I didn't think I was going to go back because of that clickiness that I felt. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to break into the group or not. So I wonder if there are things that we can do as a board to, and the reason it worked out was I went to multiple meetings, and I wouldn't say I felt like part of the community until I attended at least 2, if not 3, maybe 4 NANOG meetings. And it was sort of on that 4th meeting where, it clicked. So I wonder if there are incentives maybe we can put in place for newcomers to attend multiple meetings, so that way they get more face time with the community and they can feel connected. And I think I haven't seen this in our surveys, but we do this with e-commerce transactions. We do this with online buying. We do it with various websites. It's the NPS score. It's the Net Promoter Score. And maybe we should be asking our community, would you attend NANOG again? And if we get a no, we should be diving into that no and understanding why we get a no back. And I don't think that's a survey question we ask today. If it is, I apologize for missing it.
Nope. Thank you very much. That's very insightful. Tom Kay?
Sure. Thank you for the question. So I think that the question is basically, how do you structure and how do you create a program? How do you create a system where newcomers feel like they're part of this community versus competing with someone that's been there for 10 years or so and knows so many people? And I'm a big proponent of that. And that's why I think having a very structured mentorship program is an example of that. A couple of things. I do agree. I feel like I agree with Tom, what he said about the board. Don't be part of a clique. It starts with the board. And I believe the board has a responsibility and can help a lot with that. So some of the ideas, what I think we can do, just like in college and other places where there's a freshman class that starts, or MBA programs where there's cohorts, why not do that? Why can't we create a system and a program to help people that are first here, the first time they're here, have a cohort with the same group of people that they can kind of keep, that they can be together and even throughout other conferences and after that. Because what I think it is, it's basically the people that are new here, they will create their own cliques, their social networks. And that's kind of one of the things that I think they have to realize. But we do need that bridge to the people that have been here for a long time. And I believe that's where this very structured mentorship program, and there's a lot of corporations have that set up where there's websites where you apply, you get approved for both mentor and mentoree. So I think that would kind of help them feel better by having that bridge there. But I think also there's.
Thank you, Tom. I am sorry. Next question is going to go to start with Tina. How do you see NANOG reaching out to the next generation of network professionals and finding these people to bring to NANOG?
Yeah, that one's tricky. We've gone down, we've explored different paths. We have the college program right now. We've talked to some high schools. We've done all of that. But I think that, getting people into this industry is less of a problem than getting them to our meetings. I think it's a knowledge base. I've been talking to some people, communication is just different amongst, 20-something-year-olds than it is 30, 40, 50-year-olds. They're using different communication platforms. I don't think we're advertising necessarily and putting ourselves out there in the same way that we should. I think we need to engage some people, take advantage of our college fellows and ask them if their professor didn't bring them this program, how could we have gotten a hold of them and let them know it exists? I don't think that's an answer for me. I don't think I'm the right age, frankly. But we can ask the right people, and we need to go down that path.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tina. Brad, would you like me to read that to you?
Yes, please.
No problem. How do you see NANOG reaching our next generation of network professionals and finding these people to get them to come to NANOG?
So it's an interesting question. And I think Tina kind of touched on it a little bit. we need to figure out what the best method to do so is. So coming into this with the mindset of, okay, we're trying to reach young people, is a mailing list really that way to do it? How many people subscribe to the mailing list and actually are interacting, get involved in it that are new people or younger people? I'm willing to bet the demographics don't line up with that. I don't have the research to show that, so that's a blanketed statement, so I apologize if I am completely off. But I think we need to look at a way of how do we reach out? I can't tell you. I'm 37 years old. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but like Tina said, we have college students attending through our plan. We have NANOG members who are professors. Why not work through them? Why not create a college program where we can go to more colleges to get it out to that, so that the teachers can tell their students, hey, just so you know, this is available for you as you move through your schooling or your career. This community is there. I think we need to be more vocal, but we need to find partners that can work with us to hit that targeted demographic.
Thank you, Brad. You don't even need the cues, Brad. You're doing great. Vincent, would you like that question read to you again?
Yes, please.
Absolutely. How do you see NANOG reaching out to our next generation of network professionals, finding these people in order to bring them to NANOG?
I think my fellow candidates here have, I'll harp on some of the things that they had mentioned. And I think it's really asking what that next generation, what do they want to get out of it? And again, it's trying to understand from the other side what is important to them. And I think it's been mentioned, at my time, it was the mailing list. I wanted to find out how to do things and whatnot. And maybe it's that same piece of information, but in a different medium, a different vehicle. And then as far as being able to talk to them, again, I think for me, it's to make it personal. For other people that I've talked to on how to get them engaged, how to get involved, I let them know my story of how NANOG helped me and why I'm giving back. And usually when it's personal, that's where people really take to heart.
Well, thank you very much, Vincent. Tom D.
So I think in some of the most recent NANOGs, we've had some presentations about the next generation of network engineer. And, NANOG is historically a operator group, a service provider group, and we've maybe not reached well into the network engineers in the enterprise. And that's a community or a voice in our community that might be missing. So I think trying to understand how networks extend, large scale operator networks like the ones that are represented at NANOG are extending into the enterprise might be one place to go looking. But another place, as we talked about the next generation of network operator, is that, the world of network operations is becoming increasingly the domain of software engineers and software engineers that are interested in networking. So I think we have to go look under those rocks. We have to find those folks that, take a deep interest in solving networking problems with software and bring them back to what is traditionally the NANOG community.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom D. Tom K., you need me to read that for you?
No, that's a great question. So one of the things was when I started, I actually didn't start in service provider networks, but I started enterprise. And, a lot of these enterprise network engineers, their mindset is there's 1, 2, or 3 of us in the department, and that's about it. And it wasn't until later on that I stumbled upon different groups, and then eventually figure out there's something as NANOG. So the enterprise world is definitely one of them, and that's one of the things why we created Chicago NOG. If you look at that demographic there, it's almost mostly not what it's much different where it is local enterprise network engineers. I think it's that group that we can attract as well to NANOG and bring them in. And I think that's that's one of the reasons why having a outreach to create local communities of network operators is key. But the other part is obviously also from college, having college graduates enter the market, them having a job within the industry is huge within a service provider. I think by having an opportunity to provide a job board, again, that would help significantly to grow a board.
Excellent. Thank you. And finally, Sean, would you like me to read that or are you good?
I'm good with that, but I think Tina is also after me on this question.
Tina started it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, great.
Tina started it. Tina started it.
All right. So there've been a real lot of great ideas expressed on this. I think a key to really getting people engaged is interactivity, and having NANOG mean something to them, having internetworking mean something to them. And I know a lot of us used to talk about how we could go and break networks and learned a lot of things through that and so on. And today you can't do that on a production network, although there are some networks in a more advanced way that break the networks to prove their procedures and have the redundancy to fall over to do that. But your average user doesn't have that in their day job, but they do have that in a home lab. They do have it in a hackathon. They do have it in other environments. And we've had some success with the hackathon, along with other programs, and bringing newcomers. And a key part of it is interactive. It's something where they learn a new job skill and so on. And I think that's something that we could broaden our reach and bring in other organizations to work with us to do targeted hackathons. And it looks like the time's short, so I think that's key, is doing stuff that are interactive, that engage people, that bring new members that are active in the community, and they bring people to the community, just like all of us have brought a friend and brought others. So thank you.
No problem. And Brad, you finally get to go first. The final question for all of you guys: strategically, what do you think are the biggest opportunities or challenges for NANOG as an organization?
Wow. Okay. Of course, I get this question to go first with. So I think we've kind of covered it. The questions that we've talked about so far kind of all fall into this. And I feel like where is NANOG going? Where are we going? How do we make this to be one? We've covered how do we make this an inclusive environment? How do we bring the next generation of network engineers into the fold? How do we grow the organization and provide something that still has value? I think that's something that we should be asking ourselves every single day as an organization. What have we done as an organization? What have we done to make things better in our industry? One thing, I'm going to call it out. I'm a little biased, but it's there. The program committee has been doing an amazing job. I think that doesn't get called out enough with how much work that the team puts into reviewing all of the presentations. I think that should just be called out on its own, because we need to continue providing content that is going to bring more people in. It's going to allow them to grow and provides a place where we can help them grow their careers as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Brad. Vincent, would you like me to read that again?
Yes, please.
Absolutely. Strategically, what do you think are the biggest opportunities and challenges for NANOG as an organization?
I'm not going to necessarily steal Brad, but again, that definitely is the best opportunity and something that we need to improve on. Again, the next generation, as well as diversity and inclusion. Again, having led the PC, especially during this time of, we'll call it uncertainty, the first impression that everyone gets that's new to the NANOG community is the meetings themselves. So, I was actually struggling last night because the PCA is the heart and soul. And again, that is the first impression that everyone gets from NANOG. And I think it starts there. So as the board, I think we would have to, again, encourage and guide that throughout the year.
Thank you very much, Vincent. Tom D., you want me to read it?
No, thank you, Kendra. So I think NANOG has a couple different key commitments that it makes, and ensuring that we remain true to these key commitments are opportunities that we have. So first and foremost, NANOG is a 501c3 nonprofit organization with fundamentally an educational mission, which aligns to our conversation that we've had about engaging, the next generation of network operator, engineer, software developer, connected to networking, right? So I think that opportunity remains, and it's something that we need to continue to work upon. Another opportunity that's in front of us is, as others have said, to make sure that every stakeholder at NANOG, and there's a variety of stakeholders in our community, whether it be existing members, new coming members, sponsors, volunteers, how do we as a board make sure that everyone is deriving value and benefit from what we're getting from NANOG? And in terms of challenges, I mean, I think that our biggest challenge right now, maybe there's two. Certainly there's the short-term challenge, which is, COVID. How do we continue to run our organization in these times? The longer-term challenge is, how do we stay relevant to this community and make sure that we're addressing the community's needs on an ongoing basis?
Thank you, Tom. Tom K., would you like me to read it, or are you good?
Oh, I got it. So in terms of the opportunity, I'll talk about the opportunity. I think NANOG it's a very interesting place, a very beneficial place that you take advantage of. Because when you look at, there's colleges that teach you the theory of networking. There's vendor certifications that teach you how do you actually configure this. But in the middle of that, I think that's where NANOG comes in. And I think, NANOG basically come in and could tell you, how the actual internet is built by the people that build it. You could be sitting in a conference next to someone you don't know that wrote a bunch of RFCs or built one of the largest ISPs. And that's the big opportunity that NANOG has. And how does NANOG provide that to this community? And, one way could be, why not have a certification program where there's a NANOG certification where it's not the vendor specific certification how to do something, and it's not the theory, how does something work, but actually how it was built and how it's deployed and how it's used and operated. And I think that's the biggest opportunity that NANOG has to provide.
Excellent. Thank you. Sean?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say that the next board that comes in is going to face some challenges because the impact from COVID is not just a short-term change. NANOG books its hotels out 3 years. We have significant financial liabilities. We've been working to build a fund to cover for rainy day, and COVID has sort of stopped progress on that. So it is important for us to not only think about what we can do, but do them well, come up with goals and metrics for these programs. On the board, we see lots of offers of programs and so on. Let's make good decisions. Let's back them. Let's do them well. And then we need to come up with sponsorship models to support that. And finally, on top of all of that, we got to come back to what we're about. Keep it focused on education. Keep it focused on engineers. That's what we've done in the past. That's what I'd like to see whoever's elected on this board does in the future.
Excellent. Tina, would you like me to read that for you again?
No, I think I have this one.
Got it.
For challenges, as Sean just touched on, our biggest challenge right now is not going bankrupt. To be honest, our revenue stream and sponsorship streams are challenging to maintain right now. We do have a fund, but it's not endless. And we're lucky the board before us saw fit to put that in place because we needed it much sooner and, is a very pragmatic thing to do. Also, we have some great ideas, but we have an incredibly small staff. We have 6 people total. It's not endless, and they spend a lot of time running these meetings, and we can hire contractors and whatnot. But we have to really think about what is possible, and these are huge meetings and a huge community that we're working with. So at different times we've considered additional staff and things, and when it makes sense, we'll add that. But that's not really a cost we need to undertake at this time. This meeting has grown in the last few years from a pretty consistently 300 to 400 person meeting to over 1,000 people on a regular basis. We've also gone through the change of an executive director. We've launched a new website. We've done a lot with this very small staff. I think there's room to go, but I think our biggest opportunity is coming from this hybrid model, like we've talked about, and these gaps in that we can get more attendees from different varied walks of life to attend that weren't able to before. So one of my biggest drives on the board has been to professionalize and standardize how we do everything so that's transparent to anybody that volunteers for a committee or anything that they do, that it can be done the same way so the community knows what to expect from us. Also, it's important to reach out every time there's an opportunity to volunteer and reach out to our entire committee or our entire community, not just the people we know, and start bringing people in to participate from all the groups. I think we have a lot of opportunities to take what we've learned and really improve things.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys all for your questions. Since I didn't give you your time at the beginning, as you saw on the channel, you don't get as much time. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with Vincent again. Just give 30 seconds, anything you'd like to share with the community that you believe would make you a great board member in 30 seconds. It's the speed round.
Thanks, Kendra. No pressure at all. I just wanted to say, my diverse background, having experience in both, we'll call it operating networks as well as the business side of things, working for a vendor, I think that brings me a unique perspective that we need to consider everything as well. It was mentioned, our classification as an organization, but I think my leadership skills have been demonstrated as chair of the program committee, organizing and motivating fantastic group of volunteers. I hope to be able to bring the same skill set, enthusiasm, and dedication to the board. Thank you.
Excellent. You were spot on. Tom D., let's see how well you do.
All right, let's see if we can hit the speed round. So what I want to say is that in life, we have a few forms of equity that we get to work with that consists of our time and our treasure and our talent. And at this stage of my career, I'm really lucky and able to be in a position where I can invest time into NANOG. So as a board member, I think my contributions will be to continue to elevate the profile of the organization, to ensure that we meet our commitments. And I want to emphasize those commitments as an education organization that networks together the next generation of professionals, and to run a proper, trustworthy, and inclusive organization. So I'd be honored to be in service to the NANOG community, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, Tom D. Tom K.?
Sure. So, I'm passionate about building communities and building people and bringing people together to learn from each other. I've been part of the NANOG program community for the last 3 years. I also started the Chicago Network Operators Group to be modeled on the framework of NANOG. This gave me significant insight into operating technical conferences, budgeting, sponsorship, program committee, and building a local community for over 6 years. If I have the privilege to serve the NANOG community, I would focus on 3 areas. 1, the mentorship program. 2, the regional blueprint program. 3, job board. I hope to have the privilege to accomplish these, and I hope to have your support in the election. And thank you to the election committee for organizing all this election, by the way.
Sorry about that. I'm like, oh. Sean, you're up.
So Jezebel Gilmore said at one of the earliest Women in Technology lunches that I hosted, you make time for the important things. And what I've been extremely impressed with our community is how they came together to put together this online meeting format. And it was the volunteers, the staff, the attendees that came, including record numbers of newcomers. And at NANOG 79, it was the most interactive member meeting that I've ever had. Lots of questions from the community. So that's shown me that a lot of people have made time for NANOG. The new board's going to take over this time of transition. And so for me, NANOG's important to me. I recognize that NANOG's important to you. And if elected to the board, I will make time for NANOG. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you so much, Sean. Tina?
Sorry, I wasn't prepared for some reason. Yeah, I'll keep it really brief. I know a great many people in this community. I really try to give back, give my time, be there, be available when you need me. I've made a ton of changes so far. I feel like I've been able to be a really positive influence to the board. I have some more work I'd like to do. Yeah, I'd love your vote. Thanks.
Thank you, Tina. Brad?
Okay, guess I get to close it out here. So I don't have anything prepared to say. Basically, the candidates that you've all heard from today are all phenomenal people. I don't envy you with your selection choices right now, because it is a tough choice. Every single candidate that's here all has the same thing in mind. We all want to make NANOG better and do whatever we can to help serve the community. I hope your vote goes to me. I'm not going to cry or be upset, because the people that I'm on the panel here with are phenomenal people who all want to do the same thing. So please go out and vote, and thank you for your time.
Thank you all for all the questions and the timelines and everything. I know it was a lot for all of you. I know all that you give to the community, so I appreciate your time today. And anyone that was watching, we all appreciate your time. And please make sure that you do vote. Have a wonderful day.
And thank you to Kendra and to the elections committee and to all of the candidates. This was a great session, and I actually wish I could vote for all of you.